so that we can, and we are recording this so that people can hear it later and hear about workplace rights, hear about health and safety laws. My name is Leone Jose Bicchieri. I'm the Executive Director of Working Family Solidarity. Soy el Director Ejecutivo de Solidaridad de Familias Trabajadoras. Before I do a more formal welcome, we're going to let the interpreters say a few words so that you can choose Spanish or English channel. So ahora, antes de que yo diga un poquito más de introducción, antes de la presentación, el equipo de traducción nos va a avisar cómo pueden ustedes escoger el canal de inglés o el canal de español. Okay, so please, I am going to try to share this. Juliana, I think I did. So hit it.
Perfect. Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for having us. My name is Juliana Ramirez. I am part of the Somos Sur Language Justice Collective, as Leone mentioned. And we are very grateful to you, Leone, and to Working Family Solidarity for providing this bilingual space and for your commitment to language justice. Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Juliana Ramírez, hago parte del colectivo Somos Sur de Justicia del Lenguaje y estamos muy agradecidos con todos hoy por proveer este espacio bilingüe y por el compromiso con la justicia del lenguaje. So here are some very quick instructions. It's super easy to access interpretation in case you need it. So if your primary language is English, please find the globe in your menu bar and select the English channel. If you are bilingual, you can keep the interpretation off in order to speak and listen in both languages. Once you select the language preferences via the channels, you can leave it that way for the rest of the call. Si están accediendo desde su computador, pueden ver el globito y hacer clic ahí y escoger el idioma de su preferencia. Si son bilingües, pueden mantener apagada esta función para poder hablar y escuchar en ambos idiomas. If you are accessing from your smartphone, you just click on those three dots and choose language interpretation and then select the language of your choice. Can you please go to the next slide, Leone?
Yes.
For some reason, I cannot see my screen. Is it the English, the Spanish, the second slide?
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, yeah, I wonder what, okay, so is this okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Can we, well, ya lo expliqué entonces, estamos en el acceso a interpretación, ya sea a través de su computador o a través de su teléfono inteligente. Can we go to the next slide, please? During the event, we want to ask that one person speaks at a time. We can only interpret for one person at a time, and we don't want to be put in the position of having to decide which voice to privilege over another. Durante el evento les pedimos que una persona hable y no varios al tiempo. De esa manera evitamos poner a los intérpretes en la posición de tener que decidir cuál voz privilegiar sobre la otra. Next. We're also asking you to please speak up, speak loud and clear, ideally using headphones with a microphone. We need to be able to hear you over the sound of our own voices when doing simultaneous interpretation. Les pedimos por favor que hablen en voz alta y claramente, idealmente usando micrófono. De esa manera podemos escucharlos sobre el sonido de nuestras propias voces mientras hacemos interpretación simultánea. And the next. This is the last slide, I believe. Yes. We're also asking you to please slow down. Anyone speaking during the event, please speak at a moderate pace. Please take a breath after each sentence. Take a pause after switching speakers and asking questions. This will support everyone, not just us interpreters. También les pedimos finalmente que mantengan un ritmo calmado, que tomen un respiro después de cada frase, que tomen una pausa antes de cambiar de participante y antes de hacer preguntas. Al ir a un ritmo más moderado, ayudamos a que este sea un evento exitoso y que la interpretación sea muy exitosa. So with that, I leave it to you, Leonie.
Okay. So, we've had a couple of minor technical issues this evening, nothing grave, but give me 1 second. I need to add the second interpreter who came on to our interpretation team. Give me 1 minute. And actually, Chris and Juliana. So let's see. Give me 1 second, everyone. Sometime if we do it ahead of time, it then kicks them out, and then I kind of have to redo it. So we've learned to do the talk to get everyone ready and then let them on. So Chris and Juliana, I think you should both be on. See? Perfecto. Excellent. Okay, folks, hang in there. Here we go. So now I'll do a very quick general introduction, and we'll head on. Okay, so thanks very much for joining us. I think everyone on here knows me, but maybe one person does not. And my name is Leone Jose Bicchieri. I'm the Executive Director of Working Family Solidarity. And I just want to say this before we go any further. If you've been on these before, which several of you have, and you speak primarily English, much of the time, not all the time, but a lot of the time we do the main talk in English. And so most of the people are choosing to listen. They don't really choose a channel. They just kind of keep listening, but choose the English channel this evening because Jose, our main presenter, who's going to start in just a moment, he will probably be speaking Spanish this evening. So it's going to be the same. We have an English and Spanish channel. That's why we make sure we have interpreters with us each time. And tonight, I want to remind folks that our interpreters are from a collective called Somos Sur. We are the South. Juliana Ramirez and Chris Zaragoza. They've worked with us a lot. We love them. They do a great job. And so we will be moving forward. Si acaban de entrar, ahí tienen el globito abajo que dice interpretación y ahí puedes escoger español o inglés. Okay, so I'm going to keep going forward in mainly English. I'll just tell you, for those who haven't been on, that we do these teach-ins. We've been doing them roughly once a month. Sometimes we do other smaller meetings, but we've been doing once a month, a little bit larger, often on housing and related issues during COVID, and sometime on job related issues, and sometime on racial justice. And so tonight, again, is workplace injuries. So we want to make sure people understand the laws that govern health and safety at the workplace. We always remind people that we are an organization that helps people fight for their rights. So we are not necessarily saying that all the laws that exist, you need to learn and obey and be docile, because sometimes there's horrible laws, okay? That's why we organize, to get better laws and to fight back. So we want to make sure people understand all the relevant laws in housing and jobs. And tonight it's going to be workplace accidents. But then once we know those, we can defend the ones that we know, and we can push for much better laws, okay? So I will always remind people of that. That's our commitment at Working Family Solidarity, is to support low and moderate income workers, especially workers of color, to fight together for equitable development. So we focus mainly on jobs and housing. With that, I am very, very happy. I'm very proud to present a friend of mine who also happens to be a workers' compensation attorney and has been supporting worker rights in the greater Chicago area for many, many years. And he's going to give us about a half-an-hour presentation. Then one of our members is going to relate a few minutes of her story. And Jose will have possibly follow-up remarks. And then anyone, at any point, please put any question or comment you have. And then we'll start addressing those around 6:55 or so, 7, for the last 25 minutes. Okay, and we'll close by 7:30 sharp. Thank you so much for being here. And again, my pleasure to have with us Jose Rivero, a workers' compensation attorney with Cullen Hasken Nicholson Menchetti. Jose, por favor.
Gracias, Leone. Gracias por invitarme. Me siento bienvenido. Uh, para los que están escuchando en inglés, lo siento. Les aseguro que hablo inglés, pero escogí esta vez hablar español y presentar este taller en español esta vez. Quería presentarme. Soy José Rivero, soy un abogado y me dedico a accidentes de trabajo. Estos casos de accidente de trabajo ocurren cuando alguien tenga una lesión o se accidenta en el trabajo. Okay. Y quiero distinguir entre lo que hacemos nosotros los abogados y lo que tal vez ha escuchado de lo que hace OSHA. Okay. Es importante porque muchos confunden los dos o creen que los dos andan juntos, pero no es necesariamente así. Entonces, en nuestro sistema de accidentes de trabajo, pues ocurre un accidente, ¿no? Y tiene que haber un daño desde allí y la persona dañada puede reclamar por sus derechos bajo esa ley. Y normalmente contrata un abogado como el bufete de nuestro, dedicamos a estos tipos de accidentes. Y nosotros vamos ante un juez y unas cortes especiales para estos accidentes de trabajo. ¿Okay? Hay jueces que solo escuchan estos casos, ¿no? Y hay una ley específica que aplica a estos accidentes. Y voy a hablar sobre cuáles son los derechos y qué hay que tener para ganar esos casos. Pero quiero distinguir entre lo que hacemos nosotros, los abogados, representando a trabajadores dañados, y lo que hace OSHA. OSHA es una entidad del gobierno, ¿no? Cual está allí para evitar, se supone, más accidentes o mantener lugares seguros. Entonces, claro, viene OSHA y normalmente viene al lugar de trabajo ya cuando ha ocurrido un accidente, pero no es necesario que vengan cuando pasa un accidente, sino que ellos están allí para inspectar y a veces pegar multas a las compañías que no tienen sus lugares seguros. Y hay reglas que aplican a ciertas industrias, ¿no? Entonces, puede ocurrir que hay un caso en que me dedico yo representando al trabajador y al mismo rato hay una investigación de OSHA y pegan una multa contra la compañía por lo que ocurrió rodeado de ese accidente. ¿Okay? Entonces, importante entender cuál es la diferencia. ¿Okay? Entonces, voy a compartir ahora la presentación aquí, a ver si tenemos éxito. Ahí va. Por lo menos pueden ver algo, ¿no?
Vemos todo. Vemos todo.
Ok, bien, allí. Ok. Entonces, cuando están, como dije, en estos casos estamos hablando de daños accidentales, ¿no? No estamos hablando y vamos a distinguir entre lo que puede haber un daño que tal vez pasó a propósito, una pelea o algo así. Esos a veces no están cubiertos aquí porque no suelen ver con el trabajo o puede haber un caso contra esa persona que hizo el daño a propósito. Pero esto estamos hablando más o menos de daños accidentales, una caída. Puede haber una pelea, por ejemplo, puede ser compensable, o abuso físico, abuso sexual, puede ser un accidente, pero tiene que ser físico y tiene que ver con el trabajo, ¿no? Es decir, si uno fuera del trabajo prestó dinero a su compañero de trabajo y allí en el trabajo entra en un pleito, ¿ok? Eso no cuenta como accidente de trabajo porque se trata de un asunto fuera del trabajo, ¿ok? Entonces, tiene que ocurrir el accidente dentro del trabajo y durante el trabajo. Y muchos de ustedes han escuchado de accidentes donde no es un accidente singular, sino que es una trauma repetitiva. ¿Han escuchado ustedes tal vez de carpal tunnel en las manos, ¿no? Uno que agarra mucho, que está agarrando mucho o usando herramienta que vibra, ¿no? Entra dolor en las muñecas aquí y eso es una enfermedad que se llama carpal tunnel. Pues eso es un ejemplo de un caso de trauma repetitiva, ¿ok? Los daños psicológicos están cubiertos si están atados con un daño físico. Es decir, uno tuvo un accidente de trabajo y ahora está sufriendo de depresión porque no puede trabajar o por su dolor, ¿no? Normalmente no están cubiertos los daños psicológicos por maltrato, pongamos. Yo tengo un boss que me grita mucho y me siento muy mal, me pongo muy nervioso y tuve que ver una terapeuta. Eso normalmente no está cubierto, pero no quiere decir que los casos psicológicos no están cubiertos, pero tiene que ser por un evento muy extremo, ¿no? Por ejemplo, un caso ejemplar de alguien que sufrió daños psicológicos sin tener contacto físico, es uno estaba trabajando en una línea y su compañero perdió su brazo entero y su compañero vio todo eso, vio toda la escena y desde allí entró una trauma cual tuvo que conseguir tratamiento médico. Eso cuenta, ese caso lo han ganado y ese caso sirve como base para muchos de los casos de daños psicológicos. Yo representé a una conductora de CTA, cual ella sin saber, mató a una niña. Ya desde allí no pudo conducir, no pudo manejar desde allí por la trauma psicológica que sufrió ella al saber que era responsable por la pérdida de vida de una niña. Entonces, ojo, pero así me llaman muchas personas y Leone también nos llaman diciendo, pues en el trabajo me tratan muy mal, me da mucha coraje cómo me gritan, cómo me tratan allí en el trabajo y me siento muy nervioso. Eso en sí no es suficiente para mantener un caso. Ahora, si está conectado no solo maltrato, pero hay contacto físico, empujando, pegando al trabajador, pues eso sí, eso cuenta, pero tiene que haber un contacto físico, ¿ok? Entonces, a ver, como dije, los daños, los accidentes tienen que ocurrir en el trabajo, ¿ok? Es decir, durante el tiempo que estás trabajando y en el lugar del trabajo. La ida y vuelta del trabajo no cuenta. Un accidente que pase cuando está yendo al trabajo o saliendo del trabajo no cuenta. Pero ojo, si está todavía en la propiedad de la compañía, es decir, el aparcamiento, ¿no? Está saliendo de allí y resbala contra hielo, por ejemplo, eso sí cuenta. Entonces, no cerramos las puertas allí con el edificio de la compañía, sino que extiende por la propiedad de la compañía. Y puede ocurrir que esa propiedad extiende aún más allá. Si, por ejemplo, mandan a sus trabajadores a aparcar 2 cuadras del lugar de trabajo, ¿no? Pues ese camino yendo hacia ese aparcamiento cuenta como su camino, porque tiene que llevar ese camino. Entonces, un accidente que pase allí en ese camino cuenta también. Entonces, pero un accidente que no tiene conexión con el trabajo, pero ocurrió en el trabajo, pero no hay conexión con el trabajo, no es un accidente. Les voy a dar un ejemplo. Pongamos que alguien tiene una condición personal que le causa tener un ataque de corazón, pongamos, o un ataque de diabetes, ¿no? Cosas así, aunque pasó en el trabajo, ¿no? Tuvo el ataque en el trabajo. Si el trabajo no causó ese ataque, entonces no es un accidente de trabajo. Esos casos lo perdemos. Pero un ataque que ha sido conectado con el trabajo, aumentado por el trabajo, sí cuenta. Por ejemplo, un ataque de corazón puede ser compensable si uno, por ejemplo, estuvo pasando 3 horas allí levantando cajas pesadas y ahora anda todo sudado y cansado y tiene un ataque de corazón, pues eso sí es un caso de compensación. ¿Ok? Entonces, son estas cosas que nosotros los abogados nos dedicamos cuando vamos ante un juez. Tratamos de convencer a un juez de que el trabajo que hacía nuestro cliente contribuyó al ataque, ¿no? Entonces, suponiendo que pasó el accidente, pasó en el trabajo, está conectado con el trabajo, ¿ok? Entonces, lo que tiene el trabajador el deber desde allí es reportar su accidente dentro de 45 días del día de accidente, ¿ok? Ahora, aunque la ley dice que es la obligación del trabajador reportar ese accidente dentro de 45 días, para nada aconsejo que esperan tanto tiempo para reportar tal accidente, sino que es mejor reportarlo inmediatamente por 2 razones. Uno, porque tiene que cumplir con la ley de reportarlo. 1. Y 2, lo más importante es muchos de los casos que tenemos nosotros estamos luchando el hecho de que pasó el accidente, porque uno esperó, ¿no? Uno esperó 1 semana o 2 semanas y la compañía toma la posición y se defiende en que aquí no pasó ningún accidente, porque si hubiera pasado un accidente y si era para tanto, uno lo reporta inmediatamente, ¿no? Y siempre estamos luchando eso, estamos tratando de convencer a un juez de que a pesar de que esperó mi cliente 2 semanas en reportar el accidente, es razonable esperar tanto tiempo y es para tanto. Entonces, eso es un desafío. Yo siempre, cuando hablamos con la comunidad, siempre decimos, repórtelo lo más pronto posible. Puede ser que el accidente al final resultó en ningún daño y eso sería bueno, pero si por si acaso resulta que es para tanto, que es más grave, es bueno tener ya el reporte hecho, no solo para poder ir con un caso adelante, pero para poder probar que hubo el accidente. ¿Ok? Ya desde allí también tiene el derecho a meter esa demanda que mencioné al principio en esa corte especial, meter esa demanda dentro de 3 años desde el día de accidente o 2 años desde que pagó el último beneficio. Un ejemplo de eso es que si uno está yendo al doctor 5 o 7 años y le están pagando y ya paran, desde allí tienen aún otros 2 años para meter una demanda. ¿Ok? Entonces, como mencioné, esa demanda consiste de la queja, la aplicación a la comisión de accidentes de trabajo. Eso es esa corte especial con jueces especiales. ¿Ok? Bien. Ahora, tenemos...
Now we have...
Oh, I can hear you, Juliana.
Oh, Leone, I don't think I think there's an issue here. Do I need to press anything so that only people who need interpretation can listen to me?
I mean, we could do it that way, but it's...
No, I don't want to interrupt you, no. Okay. Oh, Chris is... Okay, I'm gonna keep. We're good? Can you hear me, Jose?
I can hear you, yeah. I'm not sure why.
Give me 1 second, Juliana. I don't know. It's not acting normal. So give me un segundito, okay? I'm gonna have to try to kick you out and then add you again. Dame un segundito.
Okay, no problem.
Sorry about this, folks. Give us 1 second.
Leonie,
Hold on.
in the meantime, I can do
Chris said she'll
interpretation,
keep-
just not.
Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Let's try again. It was working. We did get on early, everyone, and get this all ready. Let's see what happens here. It should work. It's not allowing me to add you for some reason. Hold on. Let's see if this works, okay? See?
Okay.
Did it
Yes,
add
we hear
you?
So Chris said she can keep interpreting.
Okay.
She's writing here that she can keep interpreting.
Síguele. Tú sigues and I'll
Okay.
keep trying.
Ok,
Sigue.
perfecto. Entonces, ahora hemos puesto que hay un accidente de trabajo, ¿no? Pasó en el trabajo.
I'm so sorry. I think I got kicked out too, Leone.
Oh, I can hear Chris too.
Yeah, give me 1 second. We've done everything we've done, 100 times before. So but it's just not, it's not keeping you in. Give me 1 second. Sorry, everyone. Disculpen todos. Danos un segundo. That's probably why you weren't getting a good interpretation somehow with the signal. I kicked everyone out as interpreters and we're re-entering everyone's name. Okay, give me 1 second. Sorry, everyone. Hang in there. We're going to try this one last time. I think it's going to work. I just had to redo the whole thing. Give me 1 second. Here we go. Okay. Sigan.
Okay, perfecto.
I think you just
Entonces,
need to mute, Juliana.
okay.
Or go ahead. Sigue.
Ok, perfecto. Entonces, ya que hemos establecido que tenemos el accidente, ¿no? Y que ese accidente pasó en el trabajo y suponiendo que tenemos ya el reporte hecho dentro de 45 días. Entonces, estamos ahora con un caso puesto y la cuestión es, ¿qué más hay que mostrar? ¿No? Pues pasó un accidente, no importa la culpa de quién causó ese accidente. Entonces, ¿qué más hay que mostrar? Pues muy importante, otro elemento que tenemos que mostrar es la conexión médica entre la condición o el daño y el accidente. Ojo, eso es una cuestión más o menos científica. No es la conexión de que habíamos hablado anteriormente sobre el accidente y el trabajo, sino que ahora estamos con un accidente y la condición y tenemos que conectarlo. Y tal vez preguntan, pues, ¿qué difícil es eso? Uno se resbala en el trabajo, le rompe su brazo, tiene un brazo quebrado, porque hace falta pruebas científicas que eso fue causado por esa caída. Pues claro, esos casos son fáciles. No hace falta luchar tanto esos casos. Pero ¿qué pasa si uno se resbala y daña su espalda? Y ven en la espalda a través de un rayo X o a través de un MRI de que la espalda tiene daños muy viejos. Tenía un caso, una condición persistente. Pues allí es donde entramos en la lucha, ¿no? Nosotros tratamos de mostrar de que a pesar que hubo un daño preexistente, ese daño fue aumentado o empeorado por el accidente, ¿no? Entonces también tenemos desafíos o luchas cuando tenemos que conectar cosas que normalmente son enfermedades generativas, ¿no? Degenerativas que existen sin o con accidentes. Por ejemplo, artritis. Todo el mundo va a tener un nivel de artritis, pero ese artritis puede ser empeorado por trabajo y nosotros, dependiendo de qué tipo de trabajo, tratamos de luchar eso, ¿no? Entonces, por eso es este aspecto o este elemento de probar esto ante un juez es importante y siempre muchos de los casos que estamos yendo al juicio, estamos luchando precisamente esto, de que si la condición realmente vino del trabajo, ¿no? Obvio, si uno rompió un hueso jugando fútbol, ¿no? Y aparece el día siguiente en el trabajo y trata de echar la culpa a su trabajo, pues ese caso no se va a ganar, ¿no? Porque obvio que rompió su hueso allí en el partido de fútbol. Y menciono eso porque eso me pasó a mí. Representé a un señor que me enteré de que había jugado un partido de fútbol el día anterior y digo, no, pero Juan, ¿cómo es que vamos a ganar ese caso? Dice, ¿qué pasa? Yo sobreviví, me presenté al trabajo y estoy aquí en el trabajo con el hueso quebrado porque no es un caso de workers' comp. Digo, no, amigo, ese caso no lo voy a ganar. Soy buen abogado, pero no tan bueno. Ok, entonces ya hemos ahora establecido que hay un accidente. Pasó en el trabajo, hemos hecho el reporte y ahora hemos probado que ese daño y esa condición está conectado con ese accidente. Pues ahora, ¿qué pasa? ¿Cuáles son los beneficios que le toca a uno al mostrar todo eso? Pues uno, y creo lo más importante aquí es el tratamiento médico, ¿no? El tratamiento médico, creo yo, es el corazón de estos casos porque guía todo, guía la indemnización, guía el tiempo que uno tiene que recuperarse, o sea, guía todo el caso. En este estado de Illinois es único en que el mismo trabajador elige su propio doctor, ¿ok? Muchos estados, como Indiana, por ejemplo, es la compañía cuál elige el doctor. Y como puede imaginar, eso afecta mucho el caso, afecta mucho el tratamiento que recibe uno, el tiempo de reposo, el valor del caso, si uno puede tener la opción de escoger su propio doctor. Yo no tengo que convencerles a ustedes sobre la importancia de poder escoger su propio doctor, ¿ok? Entonces, en este estado, la compañía es responsable por 100% de pago, no hay deducibles, no hay copay, todo tiene que ser pagado. Y hay un cuadro de honorarios cual guía a la aseguranza o la compañía pagar esos doctores, ¿ok? En este estado, no solo tenemos una opción de doctor, pero si le cae mal ese primer doctor o no le sirve ese primer doctor, ese trabajador aún tiene otra opción, tiene dos opciones de doctor, ¿ok? Entonces, la realidad es que esa opción, como puse aquí, es absoluta. La ley no requiere que la compañía o la aseguranza dé permiso para que vaya uno a ver su propio doctor, ¿ok? Importante saber de que muchos doctores, a pesar de que dije yo eso, muchos doctores no trabajan sin tener el permiso de la aseguranza. Pero eso no quiere decir que eso es la ley. Y hay muchos doctores que ven a nuestros clientes y les dan tratamiento sin estar pidiendo permiso de una aseguranza. Entonces, el segundo beneficio que le cae a uno, aparte del tratamiento médico, es la indemnización temporario de pagos semanales mientras uno está fuera del trabajo por reposo, ¿no? Entonces, la lógica es que cuando está yendo el doctor quiere que su paciente esté fuera de trabajo para no dañar más su condición, para no empeorar su condición, para darle un tiempo de reposo. Durante ese tiempo de reposo, la compañía tiene la obligación no pagar el sueldo entero, sino que ellos tienen que pagar 2/3 de su sueldo bruto, ¿no? Entonces, sale siendo un poco menos de su sueldo después de tasas normal, ¿ok? Esa cantidad, 2/3 de su sueldo, de esa cantidad no hay que pagar tasas, es fuera de tasas, ¿ok? Y hay que pagarlo durante todo el tiempo de reposo. Claro, algunos casos son casos largos donde tal vez uno tiene que tomar años de tiempo de reposo y otros menos tiempo, ¿no? Un simple torcedura de la espalda, cual se resuelve en 4 semanas, son 4 semanas de reposo. Entonces, también durante el tiempo en que uno está bajo restricciones o trabajo liviano que ha puesto su doctor, si la compañía no ofrece trabajo acomodando esas restricciones, tienen que ellos mantener los pagos, ¿ok? Un ejemplo, uno va al doctor, el doctor dice, ok, creo que vas mejorando, vamos a poner aquí que puedes trabajar, pero no quiero que estés levantando más de 20 libras. Esa nota lo lleva al trabajo y el trabajo dice, aquí no hay trabajo aliviano. Tú regresa cuando estás 100%. Pues en esa situación hay que mantener los pagos, ¿no? Pero también al revés, si el trabajo dice, oh, ok, aquí te tengo aquí barriendo o lo que sea, algo que es menos trabajo, pues en esa situación siempre tengo que aconsejar a mi clientela que lo intenten, que hay que ir porque no va a haber pago. Ya ha parado la obligación de tener que pagar por el tiempo fuera. ¿Ok? Entonces, finalmente, hemos hablado de del tratamiento médico, los pagos semanales y ahora el último beneficio, quiero decir, es la indemnización permanente. Esto es de dónde sale el honorario del abogado. Nosotros no cobramos por hora o no cobramos ningún horario al inicio del caso, sino que como trabajamos los abogados de accidentes de trabajo, agarramos un porcentaje al final de 20%, ¿ok? Y es de esta cantidad, ¿no? ¿Cómo ando de tiempo aquí, Leone? ¿Bien? ¿Mal? ¿Más o menos? Voy acabando.
Sí, sí, unos minutos más, no hay problema.
Okay.
No hay problema.
Ok, entonces hay varias maneras en cómo se puede resolver la indemnización permanente. La más común han escuchado ustedes de que uno entra con 100% de su cuerpo y después del accidente pierde un porcentaje y tratamos de negociar de que nuestro cliente perdió 20% o 10% de su cuerpo. Y ese porcentaje, esa pérdida, convierte a una cifra monetaria dependiendo del sueldo del trabajador. Es decir, uno, por ejemplo, que está ganando $15 a la hora, su caso siempre va a tener menos valor que uno que gana $45 a la hora, ¿no? Entonces, eso hay que tomarlo en cuenta. Nosotros los abogados, cuando estamos negociando arreglos, miramos los casos pasados para ver más o menos cómo van a ir los casos ante un juez, ¿ok? Luego hay la manera de resolver la indemnización permanente a través de la pérdida de sueldo. Un ejemplo es que uno que es, por ejemplo, carpintero, está ganando 35 a la hora y ahora no puede ser carpintero y está ganando 15 a la hora. Está ganando el mínimo en Chicago. Pues la ley dice que hay que pagar 2/3 de la diferencia de sueldo. Y eso es hasta la edad 67, ¿no? Y eso puede salir siendo muy costoso para ellos. Si puede imaginar, si hay mucha diferencia de pago, 800 a la semana y el señor tiene 30 años, ¿no? Estamos hablando de 37 años de tener que pagar ese dinero. Puede salir siendo costoso y le conviene a ese trabajador resolver su caso de esa manera y no por la pérdida de cuerpo. Y finalmente hay la indemnización total permanente. Y esos son los casos en que uno ya no puede trabajar, la incapacidad total. Su daño es tan grave que el doctor ha dicho que aquí no puedes trabajar o el doctor ha puesto restricciones tan graves que nadie le va a dar trabajo, ¿no? Un ejemplo es alguien que trabaja físico, un trabajo manual, y ahora no puede usar las manos por su accidente. Pues, ¿qué trabajo le va a tomar sin poder usar las manos? Eso es un caso claro en que el juez va a determinar, ya es un caso de incapacidad total. ¿Ok? Eso es todo. Gracias por escucharme. Entonces, ahora lo dejo con... les dejo con Leone.
Gracias, Jose. Thank you very much. So for some of the folks who have not been able to hear the English, I'll give you a break for a moment. I'm very sorry. We've never, ever had that problem before. And I think we're doing our first ones virtually in first week of September of 2020. And I don't think we've had that yet. So I'm very, very sorry. I don't know. I don't know what's up. I just don't know. Someone actually texted me that has my cell and said, I went to the station marked Spanish and I heard English. So I'm not really sure what's up. Try the different channels and I'm very sorry. When I open it as host, the interpretation button to manage it, it has both Chris Zaragoza and Juliana Ramirez marked as being logged in as official interpreters for Spanish, English, and they each chose a station. So I'm very sorry about that. We will keep trying, okay? And again, I'm giving you a brief break. The next person will probably be speaking in English. No sé si me puedes escuchar, Esmeralda. Ya te invité a entrar como panelista, but again, we've had some crazy issues this evening. Oh, thank goodness. Good. Okay, it worked. Hijo, man. Cuando uno menos cree, right? When you're thinking everything's fine. So, te voy a presentar brevemente, Esmeralda, okay? And then you can start. Thank you. And again, I'm really very sorry. I feel terrible because obviously if you can't hear, then sort of why be on, right? So I'm very, very sorry. We're going to keep trying that. Everything looks good. Please keep typing in how it's going with the translation, and we'll keep trying whatever we can. Maybe if the English speakers don't hear much, when Esmeralda's done, she's just going to give a few brief comments. Maybe I can give you, as moderator, a really quick idea of what she said in case it's not working. I know Juliana and Chris are doing everything right and they're on the right channels, but it's just not working perfectly. So I'm very sorry about that. I would now like to welcome Esmeralda, who is a member of Working Family Solidarity, one of our more active members. And she's gonna just take a few minutes, 5, maybe maximum of 10 minutes, to share what happened and how the company and the temp agency kind of threatened her to not do anything, and how she kept fighting back. And with our support, and as it happened to be with Jose's support, she was able to reach a settlement after 3 years of fighting and all of the neighbors saying, you're wasting your time, how stupid. And she ended up getting a pretty decent settlement. So she's going to briefly share her story. As she's talking, if you want to write any comment or question in the chat box, we'll then go through those questions, primarily for Jose on the laws, but if you have something else, that's fine. But please feel free to write a question or a comment, and then we will get through to those, and we'll do that until 7:25, and then we'll have a few brief remarks by Jose and Esmeralda, and then we'll finish by 7:30. So I now present you Esmeralda, one of our members, who's going to talk briefly about her situation and how she fought to win a settlement. Esmeralda, por favor.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Esmeralda. Soy miembro de Work and Family Solidarity. Es un poquito de mi experiencia peleando por un accidente de trabajo, pues la persona que me representó es el señor Jose Rivero, que no tenía el gusto de conocerlo, pero ahorita tuve la oportunidad, pero lo conozco nada más porque estuvimos hablando por teléfono y a través de que Leone me puso en contacto con él, y la organización me apoyó bastante. A veces es poquito complicado obtener información, o no es fácil para uno a veces que no estamos muy enterados acerca de los derechos que tenemos como trabajadores, aunque seamos indocumentados. El señor Leone me ayudó bastante, y el abogado también, José. Pues no fue fácil, pero ahí seguimos en la lucha, y hasta que el abogado ganó el caso, pero pues de eso, como dijo el abogado, no entramos al 100 y salimos con algo que no fue fácil, y hasta ahorita queda uno que ya no queda uno al 100% para tener todos los mismos movimientos de como cuando entré a trabajar. Mi brazo ya no quedó bien, pero gracias a él se pudo ganar el caso, y pues no fue algo que uno planee, y cuando va uno a trabajar no planea uno lastimarse. Lo que quiere uno es sacar a su familia o ayudar a su familia adelante, pero lastimosamente pues se lastima uno, y ahí en la compañía pues me amenazaron que nosotros no teníamos derechos, que nomás venimos a meterles pleito a las compañías, o qué sé yo, y que siempre nos tacharon a nosotros los mexicanos, que los mexicanos siempre somos bien problemáticos en los trabajos. Para eso tuve que recurrir al señor Leone, que ya lo conocía yo, pero no habíamos interactuado mucho, y fue la oportunidad perfecta para que le empecé a platicar acerca del caso, y gracias a él y a la organización y al abogado fue que se pudo ganar, y hasta ahorita pues agradecida tanto con la organización y como con Leone a nivel personal, igual con el abogado, pues se pudo ganar algo, y pues creo que es todo.
Okay, pues muchas gracias, Esmeralda. So Esmeralda's role this evening was we wanted to focus on one person. Sometime we have three panelists or so. Tonight we decided to have Jose primarily talking for a while to really help people think carefully and understand as much as possible about the workers' comp laws that exist, and again, in a way, the ones that don't. But we also wanted to at least have one of our members, unfortunately we have many, who've suffered workplace accidents, and most of them have successfully fought to resolve their case at least reasonably well, in some cases very well, and in some cases not so well. And I guess my main comment to this, and then I want to see if Jose wants to follow up in whatever language you choose, Jose, after hearing Esmeralda. But it really reminds me, I've been doing this a long time, and every time a case like Esmeralda fought for 3 years. And I remember her telling me at times like, man, this case is, it's going nowhere, right? It's, and I'm especially going to use English right now because some of the English translation has kind of come in and out. Although someone did just tell me that they were trying Spanish English. That person anyway texted me saying she could hear both on both and that they were going okay. So I'm really sorry. I hope they're better. Ojalá que los canales de traducción estén funcionando. Alguien me acaba de mandar un texto diciendo que ella pudo escuchar español en canal de español, inglés en canal de inglés. So, ojalá que sea mejor. So thanks for your patience. But I can remember Esmeralda telling me several times, man, you know, this temp agency says it's the company's fault. The company says temp agency, they're both threatening me. You know, it's just, and she was just very exasperated. And it really reminded me why I got into organizing. And I know on this call are several really terrific organizers too, and many members of ours and others. So, you know, and it was really to be together and not be alone and feel like you're going to go down swinging, but you're not going to be alone. And that's one of the things that kept Esmeralda going. And when she won, I remember a lot of the people in the area where she lives were surprised, right? And like, dang, man, I figured I didn't even know you would continue. That was 3 years ago. So it's lousy that the laws aren't better and they should be resolved quicker. But at the same time, I think it's the importance of organizations like ours and many other terrific organizations out there that support people to keep going and keep going and keep trying. So I wanted to add that comment. That's how I got to know Esmeralda, got to know her husband, Francisco, her son, Kevin, who's on the call now. We helped Francisco with some other workplace issues, and that's how we've been building our membership. But Jose, I don't know if you wanted to have, you know, had any other comments, kind of almost like a question, beginning our question comment with your comments and so forth. I wonder if you have anything to follow up from Esmeralda or that type of case that takes so long.
Yeah, well, that's, you know, it's unfortunate that these cases sometimes take long, and it's mostly due to the procedure at court, you know, getting trial dates, getting, you know, the judges like to do pretrial conferences. They want to do everything they can to avoid trials. So some of these trials take a long time. They have to wait a long time for a result. You know, so it's unfortunate, but it's the system we have. And believe it or not, it's actually quicker system than your classic court system with the jury and all that. Those cases take even longer. I do want to say that, you know, along the lines of what Esmeralda was saying, what you were saying, what is important for me to remember on these cases, and what I always have to remind judges, and I always have to remind the attorneys on the other side, is that my client's method of bringing, you know, paying the rent, buying food, surviving, their primary tool, their number one tool for my clients is their physical well-being, right? That is, they rely on their bodies 100% to do their jobs. I'm very fortunate, right, that I got a law degree, and if God forbid something were to happen to me physically, for the most part, I can probably continue to do my job, okay? And so I'm very lucky, but my clients do not have that luxury. My clients, if you take away, you know, I was speaking with a woman today, and her, I don't know if I can show you, but her pinky finger, okay, her pinky finger is, it is out of whack. Here, I'll see if you can see that, okay? That's how her finger is permanently. It's like that. She can't move it. And it's like that. She's had 8 surgeries and they can't get it straight. And that's her right hand. And that, she's a housekeeper at Hyatt.
Can you put that up there one more time?
Yeah.
I have to look away at something.
Yeah, let me see if I got it better. So this is her hand, right? Do you see that? You see it? So that, you see how the pinky's folded like that. That's how it is permanently. She can't move that. Okay. So, you know, a lawyer for an insurance company looks at that and they said, oh, so what? Right? So what? I mean, I get it. It's bad. And, you know, we'll pay you for your injury, but why are you making such a big deal about this? But this is a major tool used by my client to do her job. Right? And now they took that away from her and they want to wash their hands of her. And so I always have to remember that what they perceive as to be very minor, this is devastating. This is life-changing for my client. And so if this were to happen to me, okay, I'll survive. I'll continue to do my work. I'll continue to be a lawyer, but that knocks my client out of work. Hopefully you can hear me. Can you hear me, Leone? Things froze there for a little bit. Okay. So I just wanted to mention that, you know, we talk about disability, and I represent 99% the Latino community. It comprises 99% of my clientele. And, you know, I'm reminded of this every day when I represent them, that this isn't, you know, this isn't how sometimes the insurance company perceives it, right? Where, okay, it's a injury, I'm sorry that it happened, but let's move on. You know, it's almost impossible to move on from some of these. So, and then you add the insult to injury by having them wait this long and go through court and the whole process. It's, you know, it's a tough system. I don't know, and I'm not trying to beef myself up here, but I know people that try to do this without the help of a lawyer. I don't know how they can, because I have the benefit, I have the luxury of being able to go to court and fight for my clients. If I didn't have court, I don't know how I would get the companies to comply with the law. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say.
Jose, first of all, thank you very much. And I do see, and I have had a couple things I might add some questions for you to prompt you a little, but I do see, and you can read it yourself, I think, if you look in the chat. Can you see there that Lucero Montero asked a question? Can you read that and then answer it, please? Maybe read it out loud, okay, so that people, maybe in English as well.
I'll do it in English. I'll do it in English and then I'll translate. So actually, no, we have a translator. What am I saying? So the question is, are you eligible if you've suffered an injury outside of the company while you were off work, en su tiempo libre? You know, Lucero, can you, puede ser más específico en que cuando dice en su tiempo libre, quiere decir que cuando está de vacaciones o cuando uno está fuera porque está lesionado? Si puede allí aclarar la pregunta, porque si es tiempo libre, si está de vacaciones, no es elegible. So I'm trying to ask Lucero to clarify his question, if what he's talking about is a injury on vacation, on your free time, or does he mean while you're off due to an... So I'm not sure. Leone, do you understand the question?
Well, I mean, it does say, you know, if the person is the person eligible, I assume, for workers' comp, if the accident occurred outside of the company in your free time. So yeah. I mean, that's what it clearly says. Yeah. Now, I hear what you're saying. It just, does that mean like, okay, ahí está, te contestó, creo. I think she answered. I think Luz answered. Dice que
okay,
sí.
Perfect.
Ajá, ya ves, okay.
Okay. Entonces, cuando está en su tiempo libre, su break, y ha parado de trabajar y está fuera de la compañía y está almorzando fuera de la compañía, si ocurre un accidente allí, en su lunch o en su break, no es un accidente de trabajo. Pero ojo, si el lunch ocurre dentro de la compañía o ese break ocurre dentro de la compañía y está... vamos, todavía bajo control de la compañía, pero está descansando y ocurre un accidente, sí es un caso de accidente, ¿ok? Entonces, la diferencia es dónde está. Si está fuera y está en un restaurante tomando un sándwich en un restaurante, no. Pero si está dentro de la compañía y está en la cafetería, se resbala contra mayonesa que está en el suelo, sí, es un caso. Muy buena pregunta.
I don't see any other question at this moment. So please write any questions that you have. I wanted to go back to something that Jose was talking about earlier, partly because some people I know with your work schedules, I know some of you that attend often just can't get on at 6. You kind of get on more like 6:20 or 6:30. And I wanted to go back, not to be too repetitive for those who are on, but one point that I've seen a lot over the years is this issue of problems that people have that are constantly health-related problems at work, but because of the way the law is written, and as I said at the beginning of the program, we're not necessarily saying these are just laws. In fact, many of them we think are horrible laws, right? That we have to make much better. But we also just need to know the legal ones that exist, and then also the ones that we want to fight for. So I get this a lot where workers will say, it's very, very cold where I work. And I believe that that's led to me, having pneumonia, and I can't get rid of it, and I'm going to file a workers' comp case. And I'm not a workers' comp lawyer. I've supported people so often for many, many years. I've seen cases where workers have won cases when they kind of say, I told the supervisor many times that many of us were getting sick and so on. I've also seen ones where the slick and highly paid company attorneys are able to say, that's more of an OSHA related problem, and OSHA doesn't have a temperature setting. OSHA doesn't say you can't work below this temperature, or repetitive injuries. There's a little bit of gray areas, right? And so I just wondered if you could say a little bit more about that, Jose, as to how, just again, it's an imperfect science because we're always fighting. If workers are hurt at work, we don't care how. Our organization and many organizations are just going to fight, period. But legally, Jose, I don't know if you have other kind of suggestions or approaches or any other comment on that.
Sorry. In the end, ultimately comes down to that medical connection I was talking about, right? Connecting the exposure to the condition. And we came across this with COVID, right? As long as a doctor says your exposure to the conditions at work caused this condition, then it is a work accident, okay? So let's talk about an example is black lung, okay? Black lung, for the longest time, right? The coal companies denied that there was any nexus between breathing in basically coal into your lungs over a period of any time, really, a period of, and this, fibrosis, right? Basically the crystallization of your lungs, okay? So they denied the connection for a long time, and then doctors started doing studies, and medicine came out and developed, and now that it's clear, there's no question that exposure to the coal mines, exposure to coal and black lung, they're connected, okay? That took time to develop that, and so, but it took doctors to be brave enough to make that connection. And so what I tell my clients is, I'm not a doctor. So if someone comes to me and says, I have cancer, for instance, this is a tough one, right? I have cancer and I believe I got it from work, okay? Or pneumonia or whatever the enfermedad is, okay? So, but let's talk about the cancer case. I had someone that come to me and said, I have cancer and I believe it's from work. And I'm not there to judge and say, there's no way you got cancer from work, okay? I say, okay, here is my question to you. Why do you think you have cancer? Usually it's because a doctor told them you got cancer because you were exposed to something at work. And that's where we can go and explore. And so for instance, in the case I'm telling you that someone told me they got cancer and they think it was from work, it turns out they were a welder. It turns out the fumes from the welding are cancerous, can cause cancer. And the doctor was willing to testify to that, and we won that case. But ultimately it comes down to science. It comes down to what the doctor is willing to connect. And my experience has been that on pneumonia specifically, it's been very challenging to get doctors to say that that comes from cold conditions, because they believe, many of them believe it's from bacteria, right? It's a bacteria that causes the illness. And so I've had some doctors say yes, and some doctors say no, right? It depends on the doctor. So, and also my experience has been is when their doctor is a community doctor, like Mount Sinai or something like that, they're more willing to help out a worker than those that are not community doctors, that are for-profit doctors from the big hospital, right?
Thank you. And I don't know if you want to read this, Jose. I think in case someone can't see it, Kevin asked, Kevin Ansures, glad to have you with us, Kevin. He asked, have you ever gotten worker injury cases that have been dismissed easily due to the severity or lack thereof of the injury sustained on the worker?
Yeah. So in our cases, if the case is severe and it's a severe injury, believe it or not, those tend to be the cases that have a longer life. Okay. And it's because most of the time the case has to stay open at least during the time they're treating. So you can imagine if someone's a quadriplegic and suffers and is now paralyzed due to their injuries, their treatment is for life. And oftentimes those cases, we never resolve them because we're constantly monitoring the treatment on those individuals. So it's not like a case, for instance, that you would take before a jury. Workers' comp cases have a life to them, and they only resolve when the treatment's done. Okay. Whereas, for instance, cases for a jury, you can project out what one needs to treat their injury for the future, and that can be included in a verdict. We don't have that. We have the life of the case goes. So the more the severe the case, the less likely it is going to get dismissed, to be honest with you. The cases that are simple, that aren't serious injuries, those cases resolve very quickly. Look, Leone knows this. I have cases where someone contracted COVID. I represent them, but they say, abogado, I wasn't even sick. I was out for 2 weeks. I had a cough. And in those cases, I settle them very quickly and easily for a nominal amount because they admit there's no severity to them. And all I was doing was waiting to see if this COVID would develop into something more severe, and the good news is in those cases, it did not. And so we're able to close those cases out and quote unquote, dismiss them, right? So yes, those cases, the lack thereof cases can get dismissed early. They often do. Usually they get settled, they don't get dismissed. But those severe cases, believe it or not, are the ones that they last a long time. There's a gentleman, a quadriplegic that I've represented for 15 years. I've been his lawyer for 15 years, and I'll be his lawyer probably for another 15. So that I don't ever see that case ever settling.
I had a question. If it, thinking, kind of how we do in organizing, we want people to know laws. We also want people to think about what they need to do, partly to use the good laws or any laws that we have. And then obviously we need to fight to get much better ones. But so if someone is injured, Jose, let's say not enough to completely incapacitate them where they can't think about what they're doing, but a serious foot, leg, arm injury, they need to leave the scene soon and so on of work. What are, I don't know, top 3, 4, 2, what are the main things that you want to tell that person to do? You're okay. Still able to think, you awesome. Can move a little bit. What should they do before they leave? What should they call the company later to do? Like kind of what should their next few hours or day or two be doing to put themselves in the position to fight as long as they can?
So the cases that take on a whole different life, what is the predominant factor of whether a case is won versus a case that becomes totally disputed and we're going to war on everything, is on the issue of notice, the immediate notice, and seeing a doctor. So what I tell my clients is, if you want a case that goes relatively smoothly compared to the ones that are fought, okay, you notify your employer right away, right? And you go see a doctor right away. After that, it not that the case is going to be, no problems, but you're at least past that hurdle, and they don't dispute that the accident didn't happen, right? Those are very tough cases where someone we have to recreate that the accident even happened. So this notifying an employer of the injury is easier these days than it used to be, right? It used to be, I would tell my boss that the accident happened and the boss would deny it. He would say, oh, no one ever told me about an accident. You didn't tell me about an accident. You told me you got hurt at playing soccer. That's what you told me. Now with this, those days are over, right? Now it's a text. And a text is the best thing now. You get hurt and maybe you didn't get to talk to your boss on the way out to the hospital or to the emergency room. Well, you send them a quick text. Hey, I just got hurt at work, just so you know. That's all we need at that point. So notice these days hasn't become that big of an issue as it did 10 years ago when no one had one of these. Well, maybe 10 years, maybe 12 years ago, right? No one had one of these. And so we're going the old fashioned way where we're trying to write notes and, calling and all that. Those days are over. Now with text and WhatsApp and all that, that's over. I'm able to win these cases with these texts. Okay. So assuming they text and assuming they tell their employer, I got hurt at work, the next important thing is that they seek medical attention. They seek medical attention. Now, you think, that's super basic. What do you mean? I mean, everybody seeks medical attention. Leone, you and I both know that's not true. We know tons of people that they say, you know what, my back hurts, but I'll just walk it off. I'll do, I'll sleep it off. I'll put some, and then one day becomes 2 days, and then 2 days becomes 3 days. And then now we're 3 weeks later and they still haven't seen a doctor about it. And they're worse. There was a man that came in to see us. I want to say this was 5 years ago. And the man was hunched over. And he said, I never did anything about this. I didn't report it. I didn't do anything. What can I do now? And he was like, I think we were like 6 months later. And we had to tell him the bad news. There's nothing you can do now as far as workers' comp, because this is what happens. And he told us, I don't know if you remember this, but he told us, I said, well, why didn't you do something about it? He said, I thought they were going to fire me. But the irony is, the more his back started hunching over and the more he started hurting, that's when they fired him, because they said, why are you all hunched over? You're no good for us. Get out of here. And they fired him, right? So he ended up getting fired precisely for the reason, that he was trying to save himself from getting fired, and so it had he reported that right away, had he gone and seen a doctor right away, I can't say, I probably wouldn't be hunched over, right? Probably wouldn't be hunched over, and he probably have his job or at least some type of security. So it's so common. It's so common. I wish it wasn't, but it's very common, especially in the Latino community, because of fear of represalias, of retribution, right?
We're getting close to the end. We're going to go 4 more minutes till 7:25. So I'm going to ask Jose another question, and then we'll do some wrap up, and we'll close promptly at 7:30. And thanks for hanging in there. So there's so much more to go into, but one other thing that might be useful, Jose, and some people may know about this, there's also personal injury, there's negligence. Sometimes companies, I've seen this, they will actually fight so the case goes to workers' comp because someone died. Instead of being sued for millions of dollars, they're capped at several $100,000, right? And a lot of you may know this, but everything has a very specific cost, right? You lose this exact finger, half of it, it's this much, and everything's sectioned off, right? And so, and we don't have too much time tonight, but is there some advice you would have if someone isn't really sure? Like, I got injured, I certainly got injured at work, I need to file it. What should they do? Should they first go, like, so if someone like you that's trustworthy, should they call you?
Yeah.
And then just say, hey, what do you recommend? And then you kind of examine it and help them decide, is it best that it's workers' comp, negligence? What advice do you have on that?
So so we have ethical obligation that when someone comes to us with a legal problem, we have to have the basic knowledge to be able to identify the legal issue. And if we can't handle it, we refer them to the type of lawyer that can handle it. It's just like a doctor. right? You go into your primary care physician and you're having heart palpitations, and that doctor says, this isn't in my area, I'm sending you to a cardiologist. Well, the same with us. So it really doesn't matter. If it's a work injury, you go to work comp lawyer. That workers' comp lawyer should be able to identify if there's this personal injury case to it, or even a products liability case. Today, I signed up a case of an individual who was in a trucking accident. But it sounds like from her account of the trucking accident that it's also, in addition to the worker injury, it's a products liability case against the truck, the manufacturer of the truck. Okay. And so we're going to explore that. There may be nothing there, but my duty as her lawyer is to explore all avenues. If I don't do that, that's where you hear of legal malpractice, right? I had this products liability case and my work comp lawyer didn't identify it. And now I'm out of the statute of limitations. So it's important that they talk to a lawyer, and that lawyer should identify what legal issues are ahead of them. And sometimes they talk to me, I'm talking to them about their wages, and they say, oh yeah, I work 80 hours a week, but they pay me $15 an hour every time. They don't pay overtime. Well, if I'm not telling this guy, hey, you got an overtime problem and you need to talk to Leone about possibly pursuing a wage claim with the IDOL, I potentially have committed malpractice, right? I have committed malpractice if I'm not telling them about the failure to pay overtime, right? So a lawyer is charged with having to identify all legal issues before them. And sometimes it's stuff that I just don't even know, right? I practiced immigration for a year. I was not good at it. And so if my clients bring up an immigration issue, I say, para. I don't do immigration, but here's the guy you need to talk to. And that's it.
Okay, well, we are right at 7:25. I always try to keep this on time when we can. And so I want to ask you, Esmeralda, if you wanted to add anything as we finish. Yo te quería preguntar, Esmeralda, si quieres agregar un minuto, cualquier último comentario. You don't have to. No tienes que decir nada, just por si acaso. I don't know if you can hear us, Esmeralda, and if you can't, we'll go to Jose. Sí.
Pues perdón.
No, por favor, por si acaso quieres cerrar con cualquier comentario.
No, pues muchísimas gracias, y vamos aprendiendo un poquito más acerca de lo relacionado con los accidentes de trabajo. Gracias al abogado por ayudarme, y gracias también por estar aquí. Y pues gracias también por permitirnos apoyar, opinar un poquito al respecto de lo vivido. Gracias y que tengan buena tarde. Gracias a usted, Leone.
Well, thanks a lot, Esmeralda. Really appreciate it. And again, she's been active on so many things, and just really grateful for her activism in various parts of Chicago. And Jose, any last words on anything you want to bring up before we finish?
No, I thank you, Leone, for inviting me. I apologize for my dog over here barking, but there was nothing I could do about it. That was it. I can't. The kids I can do something about. The dog I can't do anything about. But I apologize for that. But thank you for inviting me. It was a pleasure. I love doing this. I'm a nerd like that. So thank you.
No, we appreciate having you. And before I sort of thank everyone, I just want to say for the millionth time, so some of you who met in some of our meetings personally and then Zoom and whatever, it'll just be a big repetition. But, every time I hear anyone, whether a lawyer or just a specialist in a certain area, talk about how we need to know the laws, first of all, we think that's very important, but it also reminds me, as I said earlier, why I became an organizer. And I didn't go into law, although we need good lawyers like Jose. But and it's because often in Esmeralda's case and many others, in my personal opinion, I know this for many people and I believe it for others, but there's cases that would have never gone anywhere if the person had not been part of an organization. Not necessarily our organization, a church, you know, a social club, something that made him or her feel like, you know what, I don't know if I'm going to win, but I'm not alone. I have some good guidance. And whether it's through the courts or pressuring or leafleting or a combination of all this stuff, I'm not going to let this go. And I'm just reminded of that every time I hear someone discussing, well, don't forget, you have to do this. And then you have one doctor, and then it's the workers' comp commission. It's not the regular courts. And people are like, what? And so you're all over the place, right? Oh, it's personal negligence. Wait, it's personal injury or it's negligence. And so that's very important to have all of that. But again, I think the reason Working Family Solidarity exists, and a ton of other great groups out there, is to help find people, if possible, before they get injured, right? And so they feel like they're part of something. They know, whoa, I'm starting to feel bad. Now I remember the workshops I went to. You know what? I'm going to report this now, right? I'm going to do this now. And I'm part of a network. I might get fired. It may not go well. It's not going to always be ideal, but I have a chance. I have a real chance of doing this. And I'm part of something that can pressure. I've supported workers. I've been with other organizations and Working Family Solidarity for the past 5.5 years, where the worker won a settlement that had little to do with the strength of the legal case. And it was because it was an okay legal case, but the public pounding that the company took because of the leaflets, the protests, the press coming to talk to them, drove them crazy. They wanted this person and his or her or a group of workers is always best. And their case was just giving them so much bad public pressure, they settled. We settled huge discrimination cases where, unfortunately, Title VII of civil rights law, it's very hard to prove in malice, in intents on racial discrimination. But we pressed so hard and pounded the company for years, doing leaflets all over the Chicago region, that they finally got sick and offered everyone several $1,000s just to go away, even though they were almost certain to win the case in court. So I just want to remind people, if you're a member of ours or work with us, great. If you're not, you're kind of listening to us, but you're already part of another great group, that's terrific. But please stay together with other people. That's your best chance of winning. I think Jose would agree with me on that point. If you want to say something before we end.
You're right. I mean, of all my clients that I represent, those that are supported by, worker centers, it makes it easier for me. That's for sure. And my clients feel more empowered. They're more informed. They're just flat out more informed. They know what questions to ask. They know they don't walk away until they understand the case. They understand what's going on. And so I appreciate that. I want my clients well informed, and it's no doubt because they have the support of the organization. There's no doubt.
Super. Well, now we'll close right now, and I'll thank all of you for hanging in there, and sorry for a couple of technical glitches. I want to thank again Jose Rivero, workers' compensation attorney, and he does a great job. We worked together for many years, and we're so glad to have him with us again. He works with Cullen Hasken Nicholson Menchetti. And I want to thank again the interpretation crew of Somos Sur, We Are the South, Juliana Ramirez and Chris Zaragoza. Really appreciate everyone helping out. And again, a lot of people on this call, I know you're amazing activists. Some of you are not paid, some of you are paid, some of you are with organizations doing incredible stuff. You could have easily done this workshop for all of us as well. So thanks for your patience and supporting us. Hopefully we helped you learn a tiny bit of something, or at least helped you enjoy your evening. And thank you so much. Please keep fighting, and we'll talk to you and we'll let you know about our next teaching. And have a terrific evening, everyone. Que pasen muy buenas tardes todos.
Buenas noches a todos. Bye.